My homeless Uber driver. Get that fucking trash out of your life. You have legacies to build. We grew that business from 3.4 million to 17.1. Horsepower, not horse shit. You want to be the parent that's an ally. They don't need another fucking friend. Not everybody's cup of whiskey. Toughest advice for the toughest businessmen. Be relentless. I have an incredible story to share from yesterday morning. I was getting my hair cut at the barber shop here in Naples in the late morning, and I had to take a Uber home from the barber shop because my wife Krista had the vehicle. She had taken our daughter Emery to math practice, and I don't usually take Ubers. I usually take town cars or taxis, and we have our own vehicles. Here in Florida, we only have the one vehicle, so sometimes Krista and I are in two places. So yesterday after I got my hair cut, Krista set up a ride home for me. I don't even know how to use any of those apps, nor am I interested. But this driver picked me up outside of where I got my hair cut, about a 10-minute drive from our home here in Naples. And she was a wonderful, wonderful person. She was middle-aged, very attractive, clean-cut, professional. She had moved here from Russia 11 years ago. Her English was good, not great, but she had a great energy about her. She had a positive attitude. She was conversational. She really, the car was clean. She was professional. And one of the things, I love talking to people when I'm out and about. I love asking people questions. I love being curious. Curiosity is something that we have to maintain as we get older. Children are born curious, and society drives curiosity out of our children, out of our teenagers, and us as adults. So curiosity is something that we need to constantly promote in our own lives. We need to remain curious. We need to read. We need to study. We need to ask questions. We need to remain curious. It's one of the fountains of youth is curiosity. So I love talking to people when I'm in a taxi or in a car like yesterday or back in the day when I would sit at a bar or in a restaurant. I always make it a point of asking the person lots of questions about themselves. I already know about Michael McLean. I'm not going to learn anything by talking about myself, and I'm actually a pretty private person. But I'm insatiably curious about other people and their personal story. As I've told you many times, there's nobody in this world that isn't going through something right now. There's not one person I've met with the tens of thousands of entrepreneurs and businessmen, the athletes I've worked with, the volunteering I've done. I've never met a single person at any point in their life that wasn't going through something that was challenging. So I'm always incredibly curious about people's stories, their family history, their dreams, their goals. It just comes naturally to me now to ask people questions. And it's amazing. It doesn't matter who it is. As soon as you start asking genuine questions about a person, the person's physiology changes, their breathing changes, their mindset changes, because people love to talk about themselves. And if there's one thing that is not happening in today's world, is everybody's talking about themselves. It's a level of selfishness that we've never seen before in history. It's a look at me society. It's all manufactured through anti-social media. Look at me, look at me. I'm happy, I'm on vacation, I'm at the restaurant. So when you ask questions, when you're curious about other people, it literally is like fuel. They become alive, you have their attention, they get out of their funk. It's almost like drones coming alive, where you're asking about their story, asking about their history, their country, their challenges, their wins, their children. And this was the case yesterday when I got in this vehicle. You know, she does, of course, the cliche, how are you? And then I immediately start asking her, building rapport, because I'm genuinely interested in her story. I want to know how a middle-aged person from Russia immigrated to the United States of America, and 11 years later is driving an Uber. I wanted to know if she was making money. I wanted to know if she had been doing this for a long time. I wanted to know if she met any famous people. I wanted to know all of this stuff. So I asked her genuine questions, but it was amazing. I was only in the car for 10 or 15 minutes, but the rapport that we had was amazing. And she was a great girl. And it was interesting because she's telling me the story about how she lives in Fort Myers and not in Naples. And Fort Myers is 45 minutes from here. She was saying how she could not afford to live in Naples, but she drove Uber here because this was where all the affluence and wealth was. Smart thing. So she would drive her car here, and she would spend the day driving around the city of Naples because that's where the money is. She put herself in rivers of money. She put herself into a special economy. We make our own economy. So things are very different in Fort Myers than they are in Naples. So I found that incredibly interesting how she drove 45 minutes every day to put herself in rivers of money. We talked a little bit about the company. I'm aware of Uber. They now take 50% of the driver's commission. So she told me yesterday, she said, I don't know how much you paid for this ride. I checked with Krista later. $11.50, $12 basically for this drive across part of the city. And she said she would get $5.50 out of that. So 50% goes to her, 50% goes to Uber, to the software, to the company. And I was like, how do you live on making $5, $10 a trip? And she said, I don't. She said, ever since they changed the commission, I think it used to be 20%, now it's 50%. She says, I'm literally drowning in my own business. The more I drive, the less money I make. And it reminded me of the way a lot of small business owners operate, where we've all wore the golden handcuffs. We've all built Frankenstein businesses in the past, where we went into business to be free, to be our own boss, to make all kinds of money. And we ended up building a company that was the direct opposite. I call it building a Frankenstein business, where it's a monster that owns you. We literally live inside a prison where if we're not working, we're not making money. And when We're at home, we're guilty, we're not working. When we're at work, we're guilty, we're not at home. And that's living the golden handcuffs. So the opposite of that is what I teach, which is building a machine, building a marketing machine that you make money while you sleep, you make money while you work, you make money during the day, you make money when you vacation, you make money. It's a machine. It's a repeatable process. It's a system that never turns off. And that's the direct opposite of being owned, being a slave to a self-made prison. Being a slave in a self-made prison is how 99% of businesses operate. So she was a slave. She was a slave to this Uber company. She wasn't even the owner. And she said to me, she said, Michael, she said, I make $5.50 to drive you here. She said, if the person doesn't tip me, if they're not generous, she goes, I lose money on gas alone. She said, not to mention wear and tear, insurance on my vehicle. I had to drive here from Fort Myers. She said, I can't possibly make money on these trips. The only chances for me to make a little bit of money is through gratuity. And then she said to me, I talked to her about the hurricane in September, and she said about how she was in Fort Myers, and they got creamed. They got creamed by the hurricane compared to other parts of Florida like Naples. And she said how she lost her car in the hurricane. And the car we were driving in yesterday was one that she finally got replaced just in the last 3 weeks. So she was out of work for a good 6 to 7 months, and now she's back driving again. But then she trusted me enough to tell me something that I found completely shocking. She said to me, I asked her about, do you own your own home, or do you live in a condo or an apartment in Fort Myers? And she said, right now, she says, I'm kind of homeless. And I was like, you're kind of homeless? And she said, well, I got my car back on the road. I gave up my apartment. And she said, I stay with friends sometimes. And I've heard this story many times. When I was in university, I worked with high-risk youth, kids that were in trouble often with the law, kids that were at least partially homeless, living in abusive homes and all that other stuff. And they used to, couch surfing. They would stay with a friend, they'd stay in the basement, they'd stay wherever. What an awful, awful, awful existence for anyone. And she said, well, I stay at friends' places. I'll stay for a couple of days here or 3 days here. And she says, I'm embarrassed to say, she goes, sometimes, not all the time, not very often. She said, sometimes I sleep in my vehicle. And I just thought to myself, here is this wonderful girl. She's working as hard as she can to make ends meet, to make out a living. She's come to America to make a better life for herself and her family. And she's couch surfing. She's staying with friends. She's sometimes sleeping in her car. Now, I remember from my university days, I'm quite familiar with what it's like to sleep in a vehicle. That's because that was self-inflicted. Those were party times. Those were drinking days where you're in your 20s and you can sleep in a vehicle. This woman was probably in her early 50s, and I think we can all agree that sleeping in your vehicle is not a home, is not a place where you can get proper rest. So the same thing with couch surfing and staying with people. We all know what that's like, where when you're younger, you live out of a suitcase for a while, or maybe you're more transient than you are when you're older, and you just never are mentally or physically settled. Your stuff's all over the place. You're living out of a duffel bag. You're living out of a suitcase. And you're always anxious and you're always stressed because you don't have any roots. You don't have a real home. So I have a lot of empathy and compassion for this person. She's clearly hardworking. She clearly has a positive attitude, and she's clearly in the wrong model. She can't make this work. Making $5, $6, $10. She told me, I said, what about long trips? I said, do you make some money on long trips? What's your longest trip? She says, well, I do Tampa Bay a few times. She said, it's the worst. And I said, well, what do you mean it's the worst? She said, I did a Naples to Tampa drive last month. And she said, it's 2 hours, at least 2 hours, probably more. I'm not exactly certain. And she said, I made $68. I was paid $68. So it was 2 hours to Tampa, and it was 2 hours back in an empty car. 4 hours of her time, 4 hours of her gasoline, and she drives back for 2 hours with an empty vehicle. And she said she made $68. They charge something like $180 or $160, doesn't matter. She said her cut was $68. So again, if there's not a massive tip, it's just a waste of time. But it made me think about how if we're not entrepreneurs, if we don't run our own company, we really don't have any security or freedom. There's all kinds of risk. I hear all the people that are anti-business, anti-entrepreneurship. Oh, I would never run my own company. The risks are too great. 2 out of 3 businesses go broke in the first 3 years. This kind of stuff. You're going to have to work 60, 70, 80 hours. All of this kind of stuff that people talk about from the cheap seats. They've never run anything in their life. But they don't talk about the risk of working for the man. They don't talk about the risk of working for an Uber or working for a company that that owns you. They don't talk about working for a law firm or working for an accounting firm where you literally give the best 45 years of your life and then you get a watch and they retire you. They don't talk about working for a TV network, having the #1 TV show in that time slot and being told your services are no longer required. I know lots of people in the radio business, in the online space, in sports talk radio. I know people in talk radio, television sports talking heads who in the last decade were brought into a room with 30 of their other colleagues. These are former athletes who are on television. They're talking heads. They're on the set every day and literally brought into a room and in 30 seconds told that they're all being released immediately. We're talking about former professional athletes on television, on radio, on talk show. Boom, carpet pulled from underneath them. So if you don't run your own company, if you don't run your own show, then what's the risk in that? You're working for the man and the man will decide, good morning, the man will decide, okay, your future. And you're always looking over your shoulder. You're always wondering when the next shoe is going to drop. I'll take the pressure of entrepreneurship. I'll take the exhilaration of entrepreneurship. I'll take the stress of entrepreneurship over the unknown. At least I'm in control of my life. At least I'm in control of my freedom and my autonomy. At least I'm in control of building my legacy. And at least I'm in control of living a life and building a world of personal sovereignty. I'll take that risk over handing over control to the man any day. I remember growing up, I had all these crappy jobs where I was on the end of a shovel, or I was cutting grass or cleaning somebody's pool or garage. And I'd always say to myself, I ain't doing this. I ain't doing this the rest of my life. I was in my late teens and early 20s, and we'd be helping, dig the trenches around a house or painting or whatever the hell we were doing to make a few bucks in the summer. And that was the only thing in my mind, was like, I'll do this now, but I ain't doing this forever. I'm not going to give the next 40, 50, 60 years of my life to something like this. So there's risks on both sides, on both sides of the coin. That's for sure. So we talked a little bit more, and it made me think about also, if you don't own your own list and your own media, if you don't own your own email list and you don't own your own mailing list, or in my case, I have a fax list as well, then you don't really own anything. All of the value in your business is in the list. All of your wealth is in the list and your relationship with that list. But in 2023, if you don't have an email list, if you don't have a mailing list, then really you don't have a business. If you don't have a way to sit down and write a simple plain text email for 5 minutes and press send and make money, you don't really have a business. You have a job. You have a high-paying job. So I don't care what business you're in, whether you're running a church, running a school, running a barber shop, running a butchery shop. I don't care if you're in the jewelry business, you're in the flooring business, you're in the pizza business, you're in the insurance business. I don't care if you're in the sports business like I was. Your number one, number two, and number three marketing priority is building an email list and emailing it consistently. That's your number one priority. Not a newsletter, not a flyer, not a postcard, not some wacky Christmas promotion, none of that stuff. Not Facebook ads, not YouTube videos, not TikTok videos, not trying to become the next influencer. Your number one, number two, and number three marketing priority is to build an email list every damn day and email that list consistently. Okay, worst case scenario, once a week. Or if you want to make the most money, 7 days a week like I do. Every day is easier than 1 day a week. 365 is easier than once a week. That's just the way it is. It takes 10 minutes to write an email. And this is what I'm emphasizing to my champions and my World Builder Mastermind members, is build an email list and create a relationship with it. And then sell that list your products and services. When you build the list, then you have the ability to sell your products and services to that list. You build a relationship over time. But without the list, what do you have? You have, some social media like that Facebook profile. That's not your profile. That's not your profile. That's Mark Zuckerberg's profile. Your fan page on Facebook, that's not your fan page. All those people that are liking and following you, that's not your platform. That platform belongs to Mark Zuckerberg. That means that platform is built on quicksand. You wake up one morning, Zuckerberg doesn't like your opinion about something, that platform is gone. Your Facebook profile is gone, and your commercial fan page is gone. That's called building your business on quicksand. What about YouTube? What about if you're on YouTube like I am, where you have a couple thousand followers, okay, subscribers? Well, the second that YouTube decides that they don't like something that Michael McLean said, which is happening all the time now, then they just start to censor me. And if it continues, then they just pull the cord on the show. So all of a sudden, my so-called 140,000 viewers and my 3,000 subscribers doesn't mean much, because the platform is built on quicksand. In other words, I can wake up and be canceled. I can wake up and be deplatformed instantly. And it's my own fault because I don't own YouTube. That's their list, not mine. I don't own Facebook. That's their list, not mine. My friends on Facebook those friends are owned by Zuckerberg. My subscribers on YouTube are owned by YouTube. Same thing for TikTok, same thing for Instagram, same thing for LinkedIn. None of those platforms. You're the product. You're the product. You don't own any of it. You have no equity in there. That's not your list. That's not something you own. That's not something you control. You're the lady driving the Uber for $5, $6. If she doesn't work, she doesn't eat. She has no control over the company. They take 50%. They could take 75%. She'd have no say. And she's literally trapped in a prison because of it. She has no control over how much she gets paid. She has no control over profit. She has no list. So are you building your company on quicksand or cement? So over the last 3 years, what have I built this company on? I did it with my hockey team, my barber shop, and my insurance company. What are the pillars that I've built this consulting company on? Well, think about it. My email is number one. I build my email list every day. Every damn day I build my email list. That's my number one priority. We capture the email of every person that comes into our world. What do I do with that email list? I email it every day, 365, no days off. Sometimes it's a video, sometimes it's a personal note, sometimes it's something free, sometimes it's for charity, sometimes it's selling a product. Every day, sometimes more than one time a day. That's my number one asset is my email list. That's the equity in my business. Secondly, I'm building a mailing list, my mailing list. Physical addresses so I can send newsletters, telegrams. I can show up in your mailbox. I ship you a physical book. I ship you a physical newsletter. I can send you a sales letter. I can send you a Thanksgiving card. I can send you a FedEx red box. I can send you a shock and awe package. I'm building and I control it. I control my email list and I control my physical mailing list. Now I take it to an all new level I've been in the process over the last year of building a fax list. If I don't have your fax number, reply to this email, reply to this video below, leanne@badassmillionaire.com, and send me your fax number. If you don't have a fax number, use mfax software. It's dirt cheap, and you can receive my weekly faxes. You can receive my weekly faxes, money and marketing faxes for free in your email. Regardless, make sure you send your number today to Leanne. Email below. I build a fax number. So now we have hundreds of fax numbers. Michael, nobody has a fax number. Bullshit. You don't know what you're talking about. Faxing is one of the most powerful medias you could have. And once again, it's off the grid, so I can talk the way I want to talk. I can write the way I want to write. Same thing with my mail. Nobody's censoring my mail. Nobody's censoring my newsletters. Nobody's censoring my telegrams. I can be honest. I can be authentic. And I own the list. Same thing with my email. Our email is not on a Google platform. It's not on a big tech platform. So my emails, I can talk about whatever I want. I can talk about big tech in my emails. I can talk about big pharma. I can talk about creepy Joe Biden. I can talk about anything and everything I want under the platforms. Email, mail, and fax. They're almost like the two of them are off the grid, fax and mail, and the other one, well, it's through a private email company. Two guys that we know that are entrepreneurs. So I'm not going to get slapped, for using the word tomato can. I'm not going to get slapped for criticizing somebody in politics. I'm not going to get slapped for talking about, social justice warriors. I'm not going to get slapped for making fun of anti-family and anti-business and anti-American people. Very important. What are you building? Your asset, your number one asset is your email list. And you got to start building it. You got to start building it. All my companies, I started with zero. And then I got, 10 emails, 25 emails, 100 emails. Then you get up to 500 emails, 1,000 emails, 5,000 emails, 10,000 emails. And the metric is this in email, if you're any good at all. If you follow my methodology, then an email is worth $1 per month. Think about that. If somebody subscribes to your email list and you're any good at all, it's worth $1 per month. So if you have 4,000 people on your email list, that on average, you will generate $4,000 per month because of the size of your email list. An email subscriber is worth $1 per month. So one email subscriber is worth $12 a year. Think about that. $12 a year if you're any good. Now I 25x that. I have a small, petite email list on purpose because I repel all the freebie seekers. I repel all the tomato cans. I repel all the cheapskates, and I make it hard to get on my list in the first place. But I have a small list of a few thousand elite businessmen, and I'm literally 10xing that number. So I'm not getting $12 for an email, not even close. I'm getting hundreds of dollars from each email. And the reason is I'm out here every day. I'm giving you insane value. I'm constantly leading with kindness and giving and value. I'm out here shooting videos 365. I only sell a little bit. I'm meat and potatoes. I'm honest. I share my losses, my struggles, my frustrations. I'm a real human being. This is the power of creating an email list in your business. My wife Krista was talking to me yesterday. She said, the school, Emery's school back in Canada, good morning, it needs to raise from some funds from past parents, right? So that's a big thing in colleges and universities, is working the mailing list or the email list for donors, right? Will you donate to your alma mater? So she's talking to me yesterday and she says, we have all these affluent former alumni of Emery's little school. In other words, they're business owners and entrepreneurs in our small community, who sent their children there. And now their grandchildren are attending this private school. Well, guess what? They don't have a list. They don't have an email list and they don't have a mailing list. Now, they could put one together, but they don't. So when it comes to raising funds, how would they raise $1? How would they communicate with these wealthy and affluent donors? They don't have a way. They don't have a way. Because when people, back through the last 20 years, 30 years, they never captured their email, they never captured their mailing address. They captured those things, but they didn't put them into a software program. So they would have to dig back over the last 25, 30 years, but it is possible for a school like that to start building and creating an email list and emailing it. They send an email to that list every week with an update about the school. These people, even though their kids still haven't gone there in 20 years, their grandkids are now thinking about going. So you're a welcome guest when you build a list. People are interested in their old alma mater. They're interested in their old school. So that's the thing about building an email list. If you don't have a list, you don't have any equity, you don't have any cash flow, you don't have any leads, you don't have any control, and you don't have any freedom. Now, if they had been collecting and building an email list over the last 25 years, do you think they'd have any fundraising problems at that school? Are you kidding me? The money would be flowing in every week. Here's our latest thing. We're putting on a lemonade stand or a bake sale or a Christmas dance or a Thanksgiving bazaar, whatever it is. And those people would just be like, you want to build a new school? You can do it with an email list. We need donors of 10,000, 50,000, and 100,000 to have yourself named. You see the theaters in the cities, that's how they're built. You see these incredible sports stadiums that, at wings of colleges and universities and people's names. They built it by the list. They kept those people on the mailing and email list. Man, oh man, I just can't emphasize enough how this is your number one priority. So I'll wrap this up by finishing my story about this girl who was driving me yesterday, who was homeless part of the time driving an Uber. And she said to me, she asked me what I do for a living. And I said, well, I sell money at a discount. And, what was going through my brain at the time when she said she's making $6 for that ride is I said, if somebody doesn't tip her, she's screwed. She's screwed. She's lost money on this trip. So I was thinking about if you give a person a fish, you feed them for a day, that old cliche. But if you teach a person to fish, you feed them for life. And that's basically what I do here is an email list will feed you for life. Your mailing list will feed you for life. The rest of that stuff won't feed you for a day. Okay, I'm sorry to say, but YouTube and Facebook and Instagram and all that stuff, that'll be such a small percentage of your income when it comes to comparing it to email. Mark Andre and I were looking at this the other day, 70%, a little bit more, but around 71% or something in that area of our revenue last year of $1 million came through our email list, our email video list. What I'm doing right now generates 71% of our cash flow. Think about that. Not Facebook, not YouTube, not Instagram, not LinkedIn, nothing but this. And then second is mail, physical mail. So those anti-social media platforms, those influencing platforms, not even on the radar. 2%, 1%, it's all email and it's all mail. So this isn't something I'm just whistling Dixie about. This is what I see happening in all my companies. It was the same in the hockey business. It was the same in the insurance business. It was the same in the consulting business. It was the same it's never changed. Email number one, physical mail number two, when it comes to putting cashola in your pocket. So when I was thinking of this fishing, I gave the girl $100 tip, which I'm sure made her day. And I just had to. So, we got to give it away to get it. And the size of the hole you give through is the size of the hole you receive through. So I'm always a generous tipper when I run into good service. And she was tremendous. And I gave her $100 and she pulled up in front of our home in our gated community. And I said, just one more thing. And I was thinking about that, the tip, the $100 will feed her for a day. But I asked myself, what can I do to open up a door that's up to her to walk through it, where maybe, just maybe, I could teach her to fish so that she could feed herself for a lifetime and get out of this Uber stuff and get out of the just over broke jobs. So I said, just a minute. I gave her the $100 and she sat there in the car. And I went in, our garage door was open, and I got a case of my book in there, How to Not Get Your Ass Kicked in Business and in Life. You can get a copy at nobullbook.com, plus a free t-shirt. So I went in and I grabbed a physical copy of the book and a medium t-shirt, says badass on the front, be relentless on the back. And I walked back across the street and I handed her a copy of my book and I put my name in it with my number. And I said, listen, instead of spending your time on that cell phone when you're sitting around waiting for the next call, I said, read this book. Read my book. I said, it's a free gift to you. Read it today. Start reading it today. There's 25 rules in there. Read them all. Take notes. Think about it. And I said, when you're done reading it, contact me, send me an email, send me a text, whatever. And I said, if you have any questions, let me know. This is why I always carry books in my vehicle, t-shirts in my vehicle. Wherever I go, I'm always handing out books. I'm always handing out books. The Rotary Club, the Lions Club, the tennis tournament, the ballpark, the pickleball courts, restaurant, wherever I go, I'm giving away books. I'm in the Michael McLean business. But I really, at the heel of the hunt, I want to teach people how to fish. I want to teach people how to fish so they never have to depend on the government. They never have to depend on a boss or a job or an Uber or a Facebook or any of that. I want to teach people how to fish. Now, whether she cracks that book is up to her. If she isn't sick to her stomach, she'll never read that book. But maybe she's that 1%er. And I had a really good feeling about her, the energy she had, the attitude and mindset she had. Maybe she just needs somebody to open up a door. So I gave her a copy of my book. I gave her a t-shirt. She was absolutely blown away. But I want it to be more than just blown away for a day or, oh, that made my day, or the $100. That stuff doesn't last. It doesn't last, and I need to find a way to teach her to fish. So now I open the door. The ball is in her ballpark. It's up to her to step up to the plate, get off the iPhone, and invest in herself. Get to the library, study marketing, study my book, and go from there. So the ball's in her court. She can't say now that she didn't at least have the door of opportunity opened. So that's a story from yesterday morning. Good morning. And it's amazing because you never ever know. When you gift somebody a book, when you teach somebody to fish, when you volunteer your time, like David Linton, the great David Linton he's now volunteering, teaching entrepreneurship at a local high school and college. Something he's wanted to do for a number of years, and now he's doing it. And I said to him the other day, I said, there's 30 kids in there and most of them are fast asleep. But I said, there's maybe one, maybe two who didn't know anything about entrepreneurship. And they're hearing your story for the first time and they're like, damn, that's what I want to do. Damn, the light bulb goes off. That's what I want to do. I want to build my own kingdom. I want to build my own life. I want to build my own company. I want to serve people. I want to change the world. And I said, that's what we're all looking for. Teach that person to fish. Teach that person about email. Teach that person about marketing. So that's my incredible story from yesterday. I mean, I feel so blessed to have met that person. It's a huge eye-opener for me, talking to other people and being genuinely curious. But hearing that story about how she sometimes slept in her car but still got up and worked, how she was sleeping on her friends' couches and still got up and worked, how she was, staying with friends and all over the place, transient, but she still got up and worked. She said she put in 6 days a week. She said she worked 10 hours a day. That's 60 hours. And she said, unfortunately, she's drowning in her own business. So, man, oh man, ask yourself when you're out amongst people, how can you teach people to fish? How can you share one thing that will teach them how to fish? Not a handout, a hand up. That's the difference, right? Not the $100 won't matter at all. It won't matter at all today or tomorrow. But the book teaching her how to fish could be a game changer if she takes responsibility and does the work. So, speaking of teaching yourself to fish, my email millions Mastermind starts on June 1st, the first week of June. If you're not in this, you must have brain damage. I mean, I am going to teach you over the next year to build an email list and email that list every week. And I'm going to take it a step further. I'm going to write the emails for you. Can you imagine? I'm going to write 52 emails this year for you that you can sit in your boxer shorts at the kitchen table and you can tweak them in 5 to 10 minutes and send them every week. And you're going to fill your business with leads, referrals, and cash flow. What could be better than that? I'm going to teach you how to write emails that could easily this year, in the next 12 months, create a 6-figure business on the side for you. You want to talk about side hustles? Oh, drop shipping and all this other horse shit. I'm like, build an email list for a niche, something you love, something you like, something you're interested in. Create a relationship with that list by emailing it and sell them your great products and services. You can make yourself 6 figures a year doing that the first year. Are you kidding me? You press the button, you can make 10 grand. You press a button, you can make 12 grand. And the list just gets better and bigger and better. What else can you do on the side? What side hustle can you do where you're paid to write emails at a grade 3 level? And when you send the email out, it brings in money at a 6-figure level for the year. All of a sudden, you know, you've got your business and you got a second business that's making 100K or 200K or 240K or 300K. That's the potential of building an email list, building the relationship with us, which I'll teach you, and sending the right emails and emailing it as often as you can. It's number 1 in our business here. It was number 1 in my hockey team, number 1 at my barbershop, number 1 at the insurance business was email. So you can register for Email Millions. It's almost full. I'm capping it at 100 men. Go to emailmillions.coach. Emailmillions.coach. It is $147 a month, which is a steal for outsiders and civilians, guys that are not clients or customers of mine. You don't buy anything from me. And it's $97 for my righteous newsletter brothers and my mastermind guys. 97 bucks. That's $3.24 a day for me to write 52 emails, for me to teach you the honey that brings in the money, for me literally to pull back the curtain on the 8th wonder of the world, which is email. Building a list and emailing it. Now, if you don't want a shortcut, if 97 bucks is too much or 147 is too much, then at least do it on your own. At least try and buy the software and find ways to capture emails and grow your list, build your own scripts, and then write a couple of emails every week. Sit down and write a couple of emails every week. And it doesn't matter whether you get me to help or not. It's not going to change my life. But you need to build an email list and email it consistently no matter what. We don't know what's around the corner, by the way, right? My dad calls it Depression 2.0. He grew up in the Depression. He was born in 1933 in the Depression. He knows what food lines look like. He knows what gas lines look like. He knows the Jimmy Carter years. He knows what double-digit inflation. He knows what, no gas, no heating oil. He knows what it's like to turn down the furnace. And my dad said, what's coming in the next 1 to 5 years is not recession, it's depression. He says all this printed money, all this fake economy is finally coming to a come to Jesus moment. And he said, son, I've lived through multiple recessions. I've always called them as recessions, but he said, I was born in 1933, and he says what's next here could be in a couple months, could be in a couple years. Calling it Depression 2.0. He says, like nothing you've seen in your life. Well, what do you think's going to save your ass? Is it going to be TikTok Do you think LinkedIn is going to save your ass? Do you think your employees are going to save your ass? Or having the ability to sit down at your kitchen table no matter what happens, whether it's a complete meltdown of Wall Street, a meltdown of the banks, maybe it's another pandemic, maybe it's a war, whatever's coming, you're ready if you have an email list. If you have an email list and you have a relationship with that list, you could literally sit at your kitchen table every day, write an email in 10 minutes, press send, and sell whatever product you want. Could be an ebook, could be a book, could be a free report, could be a newsletter, could be a video training, anything you want. And you'd never have to leave the kitchen. You think that's peace of mind? Do you think that that's valuable heading into recession or depression 2.0? Man, oh man, it's time to get your house in order. It's time to get your house in order. You got adult children, they should be in email millions, okay? You have anybody that you care about that's in business, they're an entrepreneur, they're a business owner, they need to be in email millions.coach. You need to hand them the number one thing that's going to lead them to financial security, peace of mind, all of the stuff, plus what's coming around the corner. Emailmillions.coach. Emailmillions.coach. It's filling up fast. We start the 1st of June. I'm going to cut this off in the next few days. It's, like I said, it's $3.25 a day, something like that. It's just insanity how I've made this affordable for anybody and everybody. And by the way, it's monthly. You get to hang out with some of my champions, some of my world builders, and we'll do a training, live training once a month. I'll record it, but most importantly, I'm going to write the emails every week for you. Every week, you're going to have an email that you can personalize and press send that's going to bring your business leads, referrals, and cash flow. You don't know how to capture emails. You don't know how to start emails. I'm going to hand you the script. I'm going to hand you the script for your receptionist to use, for you to use. I'm going to tell you what to say on your website to capture emails. You don't know what software to use. You're worried about the big tech software. I'm going to get you out of that. I'm going to show you the software that we use that you can test for free. I'm going to pull back the whole curtain. This is soup to nuts. This is soup to nuts. I've been in the email game now for 20 years, 2 decades. I know the honey that brings in the money. I know how to sit in my boxer shorts and press send and make $500 a day and $5,000 a day. And in some cases, $50,000 a day. I know the honey that brings in the money. Emailmillions.coach. Emailmillions.coach. Take control of your life. You don't want to be the Uber driver. You don't want to be the Facebook influencer. You don't want to be the YouTube star. You want to be the opposite of that. You want to build your business on concrete. You want to build your company on cement fucking pillars. And what's the number one pillar to build your business on? Email marketing. Email, build the list and mail it. And I'll show you how to do it. Second pillar for me is physical mail. Third pillar is fax. And the fourth pillar to me is speaking, being on podcasts, speaking at live events. That's also a tremendous way to build your company. But for today, pillar number 1, emailmillions.coach. That's it for today. Hey, teach yourself how to fish, and then teach your kids how to fish, teach your grandkids how to fish, teach anybody that you love and care about how to fish, that no matter what happens in the future, they're able to feed themselves and feed their family to the day they're done. And that's the power. That's the power of knowing how to build an email list, how to create a relationship with an email list, and how to press send and make money anytime you want. Teach yourself how to fish and everybody else. 2 words that changed my life, 2 words that'll change yours. Be relentless.